hello everyone, and welcome to the NFL version of ProLine. It's week 1 of the season, and it's about time. No more lawyers, no more judge, no more deflated footballs. Finally going to get to the action. I'm John Creighton in Las Vegas, joined by Vegas professional handicappers Harvard Barnhart and Zach Zimini. Got 3 games to look at in the NFL, 2 for Sunday, 1 for Monday Night Football. Going to get to those in a second. First, got to tell you about the football 3-pack that we have at JimFeist.com. You get 1 play each from Jim Feist, Zach, and Harvard. Last week, a perfect 3-0. Jim had his shocker of the month with UL Lafayette. Harvard, you had Notre Dame, and Zach, you had Louisville, a nice 3-0. And Harvard, you're off a 5-2 weekend. A couple of those wins, though, were not usual technical handicapping. You had a situational angle. Tell everybody about that.
Well, you know, I like situations because there's something that sometimes is very unique. So let's go into last Thursday night. I played Western Michigan plus 17.5, and the key thing there was, TCU with the 17.5 against Minnesota. And here's what happened there. During the summer, the coach for Minnesota, his name is Hill, what's his first name? Kerry Hill, something like that. Anyway, he was the best man at the coach's wedding, Gary Patterson, for TCU. And here you are getting 17.5 points. They're going up to Minnesota. Now, the question to me is TCU going to embarrass the Minnesota team, the whole, his coach up there? Are they going to embarrass them? Kenny Hill?
Jerry
Hill, that's right, Jerry Hill. I remember his Hill. But anyway, he's not going to do that. He was just the best man at the wedding. So here's a flat-out take the points on something like that, because here's a guy, Gary Patterson, is going to sit there and say, okay, we're up by 24, call the dogs off, up by 20, call the dogs off, we're up by 17 or 14, call the dogs off. He just wants to win the game and get out of there and not embarrass the best man at his wedding from the summer. Meanwhile, Hill was the coach of the year last year. He had a good team. They kept it close last year. Like, I think it was 30-7 was the final, and that was down there in Texas. But that's something what I call a situation handicap, where you just see something that you just know is not going to happen, and you can go ahead and bet it. You don't have to spend a lot of time on the X's and O's and the offense versus defense and things like that. The other one was in the NFL. Here you got Minnesota Vikings. They're playing down in Tennessee. First of all, Zimmer, he went 4-0 in the preseason last year. This year, he was already 4-0. So he's 8-0 2 years in the preseason. He likes to win in the preseason, and yet he's getting plus 2.5. So that got my attention, my radar up. So I went back the week before. Tennessee had played at Kansas City. Well, there was heavy torrential downpours in Kansas City on week 3 dress rehearsal. So Weisenhut for Tennessee, he pulled every starter out. They didn't even play because he didn't want to risk injury in the rain and the mud and things like that. And he stated to us that he was going to play like it was dress 4, even though it was in week 4. So here he comes. He's minus 2.5 against Minnesota. He's playing to really kick ass because they didn't have a game the week before. And next thing you know, they win straight up playing Minnesota. And there was something, had it just been a normal week 4 versus week 4, who knows if I would have even played it. But when I know that they're going to go ahead and replay that game like it meant something, and Minnesota is just having a traveling squad up there, you got to take that situation. And then basically those are what situational plays are.
Yes, that's right. And that TCU team, a lot of people thought that they would try and run it up on every game this season because of what happened late last year. But you mentioned you got to pick your spots and look very carefully.
They might run it up every game from here on out, but he's not running up against the best man at his wedding. So if you like information like that, that's what I try to get, those little nuggets that just take us over the top. That's the difference between the amateurs that stand, sit in their kitchen table and sit there and work X's and O's for the next 8 hours. Sometimes it's just really a good situation, and you just go with it and go with your gut. I've got 34 years doing this in Vegas.
Yeah, let's take a look at one of the Sunday NFL games. A fun one here is the Colts are playing at the Buffalo Bills. So quite a bit of line movement here in Las Vegas on this game. Indy opened 2.5 with a total of 47. 80% of the early money has been on the Colts, up to 3, and total down a bit to 46. Fascinating game. Great offense against great defense. Here's a Colts team that was just #1 in the NFL in passing last year, but this Buffalo team, tremendous talent on defense. They got a new look with Rex Ryan taking over, and he inherits this dynamite defense that has had 54 and 57 sacks in the NFL in each of the last 2 years, leading the league. But I wonder about this offense here. I mean, they're bringing in 26-year-old quarterback Tyrod Taylor running the show. I mean, Hollis, what's the matter? Joe Ferguson wasn't available. What is he doing here?
Yeah, good old Joe. Tyrod Taylor, let me tell you something about him. 2 words. He brings, well, let's make it down to 1 word. He brings explosiveness, and that's really something that...
he also brings 0 touchdowns in his 4-year career.
That is correct. But you know what? I think Rex Ryan likes to inherit teams like this. You know, this reminds me of the Jets. A weak offense, no quarterback, but a good defense, and that's what you have with Buffalo Bills. Here's another thing, too. You know, I like to check and see where the money's coming in, where the public's playing and all that. Keep in mind the sports books. You know, it's almost like getting someone hooked on something. You know, they don't mind letting you win a game here or there or a week here and there. And they like to keep you playing for the entire year. They want to build your bankroll up, keep your confidence up. It might be false and all that. But I'm going with the public this week. I think the sports books are going to, they've set the line to where the public's going to win. Right now, 77% of the money is coming in on Indianapolis. And the sports books don't mind them winning. Colts are 22-12 against the spread the last 3 years. Man, I tell you what an offense with Frank Gore, T.Y. Hilton, with the speed of him, Andre Johnson. He's got to bring in some, veteran. Indianapolis ranked 12 against the pass, so they can. Who knows? Maybe Taylor's going to have a little bit of trouble there. I'm not sure that LaShawn McCoy is healthy yet. So when is he going to be ready? He has a hamstring. Tyrod Taylor, when is he going to be ready? Percy Harvin, I want to see how his bullshit's going to go down, because you know what? He's a locker room nightmare. And while you're trying to get chemistry, he offers bad chemistry. So I want to see if he's torched the locker room yet. Sammy Watkins, I think he'll be ready along with Robert Woods. The defense, they do have a good defense. They were a sack machine, but I think that Luck can get out of anything like that. And here's another thing. I think it's going to be very emotional. I think this whole week was very emotional because they cut Fred Jackson. I think that's going to. I think that just had a couple chins drop, except for maybe the guy that took his place. But I'm going to go ahead and jump on with the public. I'm part of the 77 percenters and lay the 3 points. I got a final score prediction here: 24-14 Indianapolis.
Oh, one-sided route here. This Buffalo defense is going to be so much fun to watch, and Rex Ryan must be delighted. Merrill Williams, 14.5 sacks. Linebacker Jerry Hughes had 9.5 sacks. He used to play with the Colts, who drafted him, so he'll be going up against his old team here. But as you mentioned, this Indy offense is just incredible. They pick up Andre Johnson to go along with T.Y. Hilton. They pick up Frank Gore. They really have potentially tremendous balance on offense. But, Zach, I wonder here, did they ignore the defense in the offseason?
Well, that Colts team, there's no doubt about it that when it comes down to it at the end of the season, they're going to be a perennial team in the playoffs. But this is a Week 1 game, and oftentimes when we look back when we fast forward to December and look back on things, you're not going to remember this game. But the Colts, we know who they're about. They've got a couple of veterans they brought in Frank Gore and Andre Johnson. They need to mesh together, and that's the key thing. You can talk about preseason football and everything like that, but Week 1 there's rust. It's evident throughout the NFL, and there's going to be rust Week 1 here with this Colts team. And Andrew Luck, you can give him all the kudos you want, but he is still in that gray zone when he makes mistakes during a game. And Buffalo is one of those teams, even though they've been average the last 3 or 4 years at home, you've got to grade them a little bit higher than most teams at home. They're a good home team. It's probably not going to be windy, any weather factor like that, but still they've got a good home crowd. And I think that defense is going to cause some problems, maybe get a couple of turnovers, and that ignites a team that's rejuvenated, young, new players on the offensive side of the football. That defense, still young with the acquisitions they made the past year or two. And then you add in Rex Ryan, who's had losing season after losing season after losing season. He may not win this year, but he's going to get this first win. So I'm going to side with the Buffalo Bills on this game here.
Okay, well, we have a split on those first two, so I guess I'm Judge Berman here making the deciding verdict.
Did you see that sighting of Judge Berman?
I did not.
In the Hamptons with Robert Kraft? That
no,
was
interesting.
absolutely weird. You know, they say it was coincidence. They had a big party out there on Long Island this last weekend for the Labor Day, and who was with each other except Robert Kraft and the judge?
We'll see if he's at the game Thursday night.
Well, I wonder is Roger Goodell going to be at the game?
No, he already said he's going to be at Sunday's game in Green Bay.
Oh,
He's
couldn't
not
make that
so-
opening.
Yeah, no,
I thought that he's always
I
at the
think-
team that won the Super Bowl the year before just to kick it off.
He always is, but the invitation got lost in the mail this
Yeah,
year.
there you
for-
go,
for some
Roger.
reason. All right, the deciding vote will come down. I'll go with the Indianapolis Colts because what an incredible edge they have at quarterback this game. Andrew Luck, 40 touchdowns, 16 picks last year. We've mentioned all the weapons. Tyrod Taylor, I have absolutely no confidence in. 4 years in the NFL with the Ravens, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Some of the technicals, the Colts are 5-2 against the spread versus the Bills, and the chalk when these teams meet 5-1-1 ATS. It really comes down to quarterback play for me, and I will take the Colts. All right, before we get to our second game on Sunday, which is the Ravens-Broncos, make sure you go to jimwins.com. You get free plays. You can get them sent via text right to your cell phone, or you can get them on a recorded message from a daily report from Jim. All this and more at jimwins.com.